Hagut Maid. We're holding now Sotah Daf Vav Amud Aleph. Rava Omar. The Gemara beforehand wanted to understand or prove the reason why a Yavam does not go ahead and actually marry this Sotah, his sister-in-law, who now is a suffix. If she's a Sotah, and the husband, there was a Kinoi, there's a Sesida, but the husband didn't have a chance before he died that she should drink the Mayim Hamarim. So the halacha is that the Sotah does not marry this Yavam. So Rava says, Kal v'chemer, it should be a Kal v'chemer, why this Yavam should not marry the Sotah. Why? Because im nesra b'muter law, if she becomes forbidden to the person who was previously permitted to her, and ba'asr le'kol shekain. So with regard to somebody who she's always usher to, the husband's brother, how much more so she should remain forbidden to him. Because this husband was before she became a Sotah, this husband was allowed to marry this woman, or they were married. And the fact is that she's, by her suffix status, now she becomes usher. So how much more so to somebody, the brother-in-law, who's always usher to the woman, for sure, she should be usher now. So Amalei Abaye, Abaye tells Rava, Elama'ata, based on your Kal v'chemer, so it should come out, a Kohen Gadol, Shekidish as Almana, a Kohen Gadol, who marries an Almana, which the Torah forbids. Torah says, Almana lo yikach, that a Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry a widow. However, the Gemara learns out that b'di'evid, if an Almana marries a Almana, a Kohen Gadol marries an Almana, even though there's an Isser, nevertheless, Kiddushin is Tefsin. So now, the question is, a Kohen Gadol that was Mekadosh an Almana, which b'di'evid Kiddushin is Tefsin, even though the Kohen Gadol is also to marry this Almana, there was only the status of Kiddushin, Umeis, and before they actually got married, the Kohen Gadol died, and this Kohen Gadol has a brother who is a regular Kohen Gadol, which an Almana is allowed to marry a regular Kohen. Almana to Kohen Gadol is Aser, but to Kohen Hediot, it's Mutter. So now, should we say, Im Nesra? So the Chera, we should say that Yesh Loi is Kohen Hediot, Loi Tisyabim. So the Chera, if the Kohen Gadol was married to this woman, to this Almana, which we said they're not allowed to get married, but the Kedushin is Tefsin. Now he dies, so the Chayr Loi Tisyabim should come out that he should not do this Kohen, regular Kohen should not do Yibum to the sister-in-law. Why? Say the same svara. In Nesra b'muter law, if now the Kohen Gadol, which the Gemara is going to ask in a second, but if you're saying that the Kohen Gadol, which was the Chayra Mutter, so the Almana beforehand is now Aser, but Aser lo, so the Chayra, the Yavam, which was Aser to the wife, while his brother was alive, like Kolshki, and how much more so now she should be Aser. Gemara right away asks, Nesra, why are you saying this svara of Im Nesra? But Mutter lo, Hasir v'kaima. The Kohen Gadol was always Aser to the Almana. It was never a status, never a time that the Kohen Gadol was Mutter to this Almana. And also, you're using the expression of Mutter law, it's Mutter now, Aser lahu. The Kohen Gadol to the Almana is always Aser. So the Chayr of this whole Kal v'chemer doesn't make any sense. So Abaye accepts what Rava says, and therefore says, rather, let me explain as follows. The wife of a Kohen Gadol, the wife of a regular Kohen, who was raped. And the Gemara Ksubas learns out that a wife of Yisrael, which Leilenu is Nansa, so the halacha is she still wanted to her husband, and we learn it now for the pasuk of Vahile Nitbisa. In other words, Nitbisa means that she was not forced. She wasn't, but if she was forced, then she still wanted to her husband. However, the wife of a Kohen Gadol who was raped, halacha is that this Kohen not a kohen gadol, a regular kohen, the wife of a regular kohen, is going to be usher to her husband now. So now the question, he says like this: the wife of a kohen which was raped, umeis, and now this husband, he died without any children. V'yesh le'ach cholol, and he has a brother who's a cholol. What's a cholol? A cholol is somebody who's born from a kohen, who this kohen now married a woman who he's not allowed to marry. For example, an almana to a kohen gadol, or to a grusha, or chalala to a zayna, to a kohen hedyet. So these halachas are, like the Torah says, is il yikach v'leichal zarei. So the child that comes out of this union relation is called a cholol. So now, if this brother, it's obviously it's a half brother. So what happened over here? You have a kohen, the wife of a kohen who was Nensa, and then he died, and this kohen has a half brother who's a cholol. So the chayra leitis yabim, this half brother should not do yibum. Why? Because imnes rabbi mutter law say the same svara. If now the husband who's a kohen, which at the beginning he was mutter to his wife, and once she got raped, ba'asr law. So imnes rabbi mutter law. If now she becomes asr to him because of the nensa, even though they were one time mutter to be married. So in the case of ba'asr, in the case of a brother who's a yavam, which when the brother was alive, he was forbidden to marry his sister-in-law. How much more so should now it be usher? So that the Kalvachim makes a lot of sense. So the chayra, and we know that he does do yibum. This cholol will do yibum. So if so, the whole Kalvachim now falls away. So Rava answers and says, "Oynis b'Yisrael mishta shari." The fact is that if there will be a oynis from a yid, it's mutter. The gabi dahai miyaleki yisura, which means that when, in regards to the rape of a woman, so she's completely permitted to yid. So therefore, a married woman which is raped by another man could still be married to a regular Yisrael. However, in regard to this person, the brother of the deceased one, who's a cholol, that he's going to be usher. So the fact that the woman was forbidden to her cholol, her brother-in-law, while she was married to her husband, doesn't really matter, because had she been raped while she was married to the cholol, it would not render her forbidden to him, as she has the status of a Yisrael with regard to marriage. This case cannot be compared to the case of the Mishnah, as a woman who commits adultery is forbidden to any husband, not only to a kohen. Now the Mishnah is going to continue to explain. The previous Mishnah taught us that a woman, that her husband was mekana, so if she is married to a kohen, so the status of the Sotah now, she is osati truma until she's going to drink the mayim ha'amorim. This Mishnah is going to explain different cases that a woman is osir truma forever, either because she can't be checked or because the checking doesn't work. Mishnah says as they, and these women are forbidden to eat truma. The case is if a woman says to her husband, "I am tummy," she admitted to having committed adultery with another man. Or either she admitted that she had relations, she committed adultery, or Edim now came and said that she's tummy. Well, he marries or she said, I'm not going to drink the mayim ha'amorim. Or another case when the husband doesn't want to give her to drink, or the husband had relations with her on the way to bring her to the Beis HaMikdash to drink the mayim ha'amorim. In all these cases, the mayim ha'amorim will not be effective in evaluating whether she was faithful or unfaithful, because, as the Gemara later on is going to learn, different psukim, that the mayim ha'amorim will not take effect. So just to recap the Mishnah, these are the cases which the woman, if she's married to a kohen, she will not eat truma. If she says clearly, I am tummy to you, I had relations with somebody else, or Aiden came along and said, we know that this woman was Matame, or she says, I'm not drinking the Mayim HaMarim, or the husband doesn't want to give the Mayim HaMarim, or the fifth case, or if they had relations, all these cases, the Mayim HaMarim will not work. So now the Gemara says, Omer Rab Amram says, Hamilsa Omer Lan Rab Sheshes the Amira told us this halacha, V'aner Lan Einin Mimasnisan. And he enlightened our eyes, and cited a raya from the Mishnah. Just before we go to the Gemara, Taisus brings a very interesting question. One of the cases that a woman will not drink is if she says, I had relations. So Taisus brings a question from the Gemara in the Doran, Taisus the Barmasal, Imeres to Me'anilach, that from the Gemara in the Doran, Rabbi and Abshishas argue, in the case of somebody who says, Imeres to Me'anilach, Abshishas is going to say, that so the Gemara, so he answers and says, let me read inside, that the Hachamar Acher Kinos is seated at Glan Ledavar. For the Rishis made the Hacham Afash the Rishami over here. In other words, Taisus' question is, if the case of it's mashma that if the Taman Yilach, we don't believe her. Why? Because we're worried that maybe she's just saying these words because she wants to get married to somebody else. So the Chayra in our Mishnah says we do believe her. So Taisus says it depends. Our Mishnah, we're talking about that there was a kina and there was a sasira. There's reglayim medavar to say that she was mezana. So therefore, we say that we believe when she says to me ani lacha. However, the Gemara in Dari over there is speaking about that the woman came random and says to me ani lacha. So in that case, we're not going to right away believe her. We say that she has ulterior motive. She wants to get married to somebody else. Okay. So now, though, again, let's start the Gemara again. Amram says, Hamilsa Amralon, Reb Sheshes said in Halacha, V'aner Lan Einim Masnisan, and he enlightened our eyes by citing support from a Mishnah, from our Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? Not from the following Mishnah. Sotah from where there are witnesses in another country. So she drank, she's a Sotah, there was a Kina and there's a Sasida, and there was Eidim that actually saw her be Mitame. Now, the Beis Din doesn't know about these Eidim, and it could be that the Sotah herself doesn't know about these Eidim. But there are Eidim somewhere in the world, there are Medina Sayyam, which saw this, what happened. So the halacha is, Shesha says, Ein hamayim bait k'neisa. The bitter waters are not going to check. Why? My time, what's the reason? The Amar Kra, because the pasuk clearly says, V'nistera, that she concealed, V'nitman, she became tummy, V'eidin ba, there's no witnesses. The lek, which means he touches up, and like Rashi says, even though we had beforehand, V'eidin ba teaches us that there wasn't two Eidim, there was one Eid, but ein mikra metzi midei pshutay. And therefore, Pashta Pshat, what is Minister of Yinitim of Eidin Ba? The Leka, the other, but nobody knows what happened. There was nobody that knows that she became tummy. So therefore, you need the Mayim HaMarim not to check. Afukeha, to exclude a case, to Ika the other, if Eidim know about it, even though the Beis Din doesn't know about these Eidim, and she doesn't know about the Eidim, but if there are Eidim in the world that saw her be mitame, then the Mayim will not check. That's what Rav Sheshes said. And he enlightened our eyes. He brought us support to his ruling from our Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah stated, the second case, it said that when she won't eat truma is shabo edim she tmea. At the Edim came and said that she was telling me that she had relations. So now Reb Sheshes says, the also Edim memas. When did these Edim actually come to testify that she was metame? If you're going to say that they came before she drank, so that's not a chiddush. Zainahi. If the Eidim are coming before she drank the Mayim HaMarim and said we saw her be defiled, then obviously she's not going to drink. She's mamash Zaina. So what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? That she doesn't drink. Ella, rather, you must say, Rosh is touching up the basar the shisai, that the witnesses came after she already drank. After she drank the Mayim HaMarim, The other witnesses say that she was mitame. So now he says like this. If you're going to say that the water, now that if there's Adam, the water does not evaluate her, so therefore Shaper makes a lot of sense. She drank the waters. Adam came along and nothing happened to her. Adam came now and said, we know she's matama, so it makes a lot of sense to say why the minds were invited, because there's Adam there. And we're saying that the Adam came after she already drank, because beforehand there's no chiddush. But if you're going to say that the waters actually do check her, even if there's Adam over there that know about it, the Mayim Hamorim will check, and if she sins, she'll die. So then the Chayra Tigali Milslam Afred the Sadi Shakari Ninu. Then it should be revealed retroactively that they are false witnesses. And the fact that she survived the drinking of the bitter waters would indicate that she never really committed adultery. And we know that we do accept these Adam, because if the Mayim is Baitinesa and the Adam come after she drank and nothing happened to her, so why are we Bechlal? So it comes out that the Adam Bechlal are lying. Because if Shitaka did something, the Mayim should be Baitik. Elamai, you must say, like Rabbi Shloimy is saying, that if there's Adam around, the waters will not check. So Amar Rabbi Yosef told Rabbi Shloimy, no. Actually, I can tell you that the Mayim Amad and the bitter waters will check her. In our case, if the waters checked her, why? How is it possible that Adam came afterwards? Why didn't she die right away? And you could say that the fact that she survived is because she has a schus, and the schus delayed her punishment. As we're going to learn, according to some shittas, if a Sotah has certain schusim, she won't die immediately upon drinking the water. Therefore, if Adam were to testify that she was Mizana after she drank the water without dying, it's not clear that the testimony is sheker. So the Gemara now explains, B'mai kamiflagi. What do Reb Shloimy and Rabbi Yosef disagree? So he says like this, B'misnavna de Rebbe. They disagree with regards to misnavna. This misnavna means that she deteriorates, as explained by Rabbi Nasi. The Tanan learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eimer, Rabbi Nasi says, Schus teile b'mayim amorim, that the merits, her schusim, delays punishment with regards to the mayim amorim. That even if a woman was mizana, she won't die immediately because she has schusim. Ve'eni ledes ve'ena mashbachas. She will not give birth, and she will not improve in terms of her condition after she drank the mayim amorim. Ela misnavna ve'elefes, rather she will deteriorate. L'seif she mesa ba'isa mesa, and eventually she'll die in the same death as suffered by a Sotah who drank the mayim amorim. That's what Rebbe holds. Rebbe holds that if a woman has a schus and she drank the mayim amorim, she will not give birth, she won't improve at all, she's going to deteriorate, and eventually she's going to die by Isimis. So, Rabbi Shloimy Zuna Meira, he says like this, Bein Rebbe, Bein Rabbanan, have a misnavna. He says, both according to the opinion of Yehuda Nasi and according to the opinion of the Chachamim, who disagree with him, she begins to deteriorate even though she has a schus. So if she doesn't begin to deteriorate immediately, the Hadim who testified to her drinking must be, after the drinking, must be sheker. Now, Rabbi Yosef, so that's what Shloimy. Shloimy says that Tzai Rebbe said the Chachamim, if hold that she deteriorates right away. So if she didn't deteriorate, and she drank the mayim amorim, and Adam came and said something, must be there, Edi shkorim, saying false. Rabbi Yosef says, the Rebbe have a misnavna, that according to Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef is going to say like this, only according to the opinion of Yehuda Nasi is it so that she begins to deteriorate. But according to the Chacham, she does not begin to deteriorate. Therefore, Yosef explains that the fact that she survived the drinking of the mayim amorim and didn't begin to deteriorate does not prove that the testimony was false, because according to Rabbanan, if she has a schos, levim misnamna. That's going to be, again, the machlekes between Reb Sheshes and Reb Yosef. The machlekes in Rebbe, that if she has a schos, does she start to deteriorate? Reb Sheshes says, "Sai according to Rebbe, Sai the Chachamim, she will." So Rebbe Savar, and therefore, if she doesn't deteriorate, it must be the witnesses are false. And Yosef is going to say that only according to Rebbe, but not according to the Chacham. Okay, now Masad of Shimi Ba'ashi. Shimi Ba'ashi asked a shaila from the Mishnah and the Chav Beis and Aleph. Shimon says, "Ein schos telebim," and this was what we were alluding to before. Shimon says, "Ein schos telebim ma'im amorim." Shimon says that a schos does not delay punishment with regard to the bitter waters of a Sotah. Now he says, if you're going to say that a schos, that the merit delays punishment with regard to the bitter waters, you're going to push aside the in other words, like Rashi says, people are not going to be afraid to drink the mayim amarim because they're going to say, I have a schos. And you're also going to bring like a Meti Shemra on women who are really Tahiris and they drink, and people are going to say that to me is really the tummy, they have a merit. Now, so according to Rav Shimon, the way that Rav Shimon Barashi, according to Rav Shimon, he's going to hold the schus never works. So now Rav Shimon Barashi explains if you're going to say that the bitter waters of a Sotah does not evaluate the woman, if there's Eidim Dinas Hayom, so the same thing, you can ask the same question. You're also going to make a Shemra on a woman who really didn't do anything, and people are going to say to me, really this woman is a tummy. Rather, they have witnesses in a country overseas. So, Shimi Ba'ashi asks that this whole vart that Shimon says that schus never work because you're going to basically make a joke out of the whole Mayim Amarim and make a Mitzvah Shemra on the Tahidus, you can ask the same question about Eidim Dinas Hayom. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Shimon comments, you're asking a Shaila according to the opinion of Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, the schus le'talya. The fact, Shimon says that the schus will never work, and the witnesses in the country overseas also does not delay it either. So, according to Rabbi Shimon, if a schus doesn't work, Eidim also do not work. Okay, Masiv Rav. So now Rav raises a shaila from the Mishnah, which teaches Razay. Just again, we're holding Daf Vav and Aleph, the last line. Masiv Rav. Rav asks the shaila. What's Rav's shaila? Rav's shaila is the shaila is going to be on the Sheshes. So Masiv Rav asks, and these are the Sotah, these are the Menachis which get burnt. Which over there the Mishnah is speaking about the Sotah woman who a Sotah has to bring a korban mincha. So it says these are the Sotah women who the menachis are burnt. In other words, they're not brought on the mizbeach. Avavam at base. So the Mishnah says, he quotes, if a woman says, Timeani, I am tummy. Shabola Eidim she Timea, and now Eidim also came and said that she is tummy. So Rav now wants to clarify. The also Eidim Emas. When were the witnesses, when did they come forth to testify? If you say that they came forth before the mincha was actually Mekadesh, was sanctified, as in regards to whenever you sanctify a korban, there's two steps. You have Kedusha B'peh, which you say that this item is going to be a korban, and then you have when it's brought into a Kli. So now the question is like this. When do these Eidim come and testify? We're saying that these menachos are burnt, because Adam came now and said she's tummy. So she has to bring a carbon. If a regular Sota has to bring a carbon, part of the steps, by Sota she has to bring a carbon. However, over here, there's no need to bring a carbon because we know she's a Sota. Adam came and said, not that she's a Sota, that she's a mamash Sota vade. So Adam came along and said that she's tummy. And therefore, we don't bring the carbon, we burn the carbon. So the question is, Rav wants to know, when did Adam come? If you want to say, if you're going to say that they came before the carbon mincha was sanctified, so then before one taklik shadis, so table chulin, it should be chulin. Why are you burning it? Ella the boss of the kiddush. Rather, you have to say that it was that the witnesses came forth after it was brought into kli shadis. So like this, it says, if you want to say that the water does check even if there's edim, so then almo bas migdash umikravhi. So then you could say that the carbon mincha is suitable to be sanctified and brought. And when it was sanctified l'chatchila, even though there was witnesses who could have testified, shaper kiddush, it was properly sanctified. And that's why her meal offering is burnt, because once a carbon mincha has been properly sanctified in the kli shadis, it cannot be transferred to chulin. So he's trying to bring an ayah that over here you must say that mayim is beit genaisa, because it makes sense why it's nisrafis. The Adam came after it was already put into kli shadis. Why didn't anything happen? And really mayim is beit genaisa. And l'chatchila, when they put it into the kli shadis, they put it in thinking that she's a Sota. So he says, but if you're going to say that the water does not evaluate whether she was faithful or not, as long as there's witnesses, so then then it should be megala mafreya, that when the carbon mincha was sanctified at the outset, it was sanctified betos. And v'tei b'chulin, and this mincha should now be transferred to chulin, not nisrafus. So Rabbi Yehuda Miskarta said that we're talking about a case where the woman actually committed adultery in the Azara, in the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash. So really, it's a very far-fetched case, but really the mincha was mekudesh already in a kli shadis. Kodesh mikodesh, shaper kodesh, because at the outset, when the carbon was sanctified, it was properly sanctified, and just right beforehand, she was mizana ba'azara. But we know that the young kohenim accompany her to the place where she drinks. So when did she have time to be mizana? And for the Gemara, she committed adultery with the young kohenim. Talking about a case that she needed to go to the bathroom, and the young kohenim allowed her to go to the bathroom, and she committed adultery there. I used to say that the young kohenim hold her in a cell. Since there are times when she's out of their sight, it is possible that she commits adultery with other people when there's pirchei kona. Sheshu says, really, it's like we said, that the witness, the Adam testified that she had been betame during the initial seclusion for which she must drink, and not this whole idea of being mizan in the azara. The garment is table the chulin. Now you're saying that it should go to chulin midrabanan. So they examine midrabanan. So Hashem Yemnu, maybe if we're going to say it's going to go to the chulin, people will say mikli shadis the chulin, that you could transfer carbon mincha from kodesh from kli shadis to chulin. So Master Mari asked a shaila that nitmes minchas actually kitchen bekli yarik the chulin in the office with tipada. The Brisa says that if you have a mincha, if you have a meal offering of a Sota and it becomes tamei, so before it actually went into a kli shadis, it's like every single carbon mincha, and you can redeem it. But once it becomes sanctified in a kli, it's like all menachos with the serve and it gets burnt. The Brisa continues, if after the Korban Mincha was sanctified by being placed in the Kli Yisharis, the Kohen removed a handful from it to be makrab on the Mizbeach. This is called the Kohemitz. Kodesh HaKohemitz. If they brought a korban, the Kohen now brought a handful, and the Kohen didn't manage to sacrifice it before the husband died or before the wife, died. So now the korban is basically irrelevant. She's like it's like all other menachos, and he gets burnt. Next case, the Brisa continues. If the kemitza was done, but the kohen did not manage to eat the remainder of the meal offering before the husband died or before the wife died, so then I call menachos. It's like all other menachos, and she eats it. Because the korban initially came due to suffix, as whether she was a sotah or not. And it atoned for its uncertainty left. In other words, it fulfilled its purpose of being mekudesh at the time when the husband and wife were still alive. And now that they died, it's not needed anymore. Now the Brisa continues, if witnesses came before the kemitza was done, and said she's told me the mincha is nisrefes. If the edim now are zeimim come to be edim zeimim, so Allah said minchas chul and the mincha is chul. So what do we see from here? We see this is a shaila rapapa. For he said that in a similar case where witnesses testified about her being mizana after the offering was already sanctified, Chum decreed that the offering should be burnt. Why? In order to prevent people from saying that a korban mincha that has been sanctified in a Kli Yisharis could be transferred now to chulin. So l'chayra we don't see this gzeira. So the Gemara answers and says, Edim Zem Kamnis, you want to bring a shaila and rapapa from Edim Zem Kol Yislu. You can't compare it because this Edim Zem have people know about it. Since the circumstances of these cases are public, everyone knows that the offering was sanctified b'tas, and no one's going to ask the shaila or come mistaken and say, I could bring from a Kli Yisharis to chulin. It was taught of rice in accordance to the opinion of Sheshes, but not for his reasoning. Why? So he says like this. Tahida, from the word tahida, teaches us not if there's edim medina siyam. See, in other words, this Brisa teaches us the Rabbi Sheshes that a state that has edim medina siyam, the mayim will not be baitik, but not like Rabbi Sheshes says from Edim Ba, but rather from a different makkah from Tahida. So he says like this again. Backwards. Tanya Kava say Rabbi Sheshes. Let's go back. Tanya Kava say Rabbi Sheshes within the Brisa Rabbi Sheshes v'lam etamei, not for Rabbi Sheshes. The pasuk says v'lam nitmeisa isha utahirahi v'niksa v'nizra zara. So he says like this. From the words tahida, that she has to be taught v'niksa v'nizra zara, then v'leishish l'nina sayam. Not if there's edim v'nina sayam. Now, utahira, from the extra vav, v'leishish also l'schus, not if there's a schus. What does he teaches? V'loi, she used to eat no Meseches Sota. And not when when her znus is discussed by weavers in the moonlight. Like he says, a woman would sit in groups while spinning threads in the moonlight and gossip what's going on in the city. So if they discuss her having committed adultery, then since it's considered public knowledge, the bidder's waters were not evaluated in that case because evaluation is not needed. Now, the Gemara says, Rav Shimon, so granted he doesn't dash in the vav, but there's Eidim Medina Siyam who now would testify on her tumah. So the chayr, you can ask the same question that you're going to make a shemra on the tahiris to drink. They're going to say that she's really tummy, but there's just the Eidim on her tumah, and therefore that's why the Eidim, that's why the waters didn't check. So the Gemara says that in a case that there's Eidim Medina Siyam that know about her tummy, lo yishchicha, that's not very, very common. So therefore, this whole chash, the bichoshid on tahiris, and to say that she's really tamei will not be really relevant.